This is a Play Your Way network presentation. Get the full story at PlayLifeYourWay.com. In a world where the top film franchises are either reboots, comic adaptations, or just an overhyped waste of time, Play Your Way Network is back, and this time it's personal. With Derek and BK riding along to help you curate your movie news, theories, and reviews the Player Way. This is the weekly Movie Chat Podcast, hosted by BK Jackson and Derek Lewis.
Weekly Movie Chat Podcast. It is on once again, Patron once again, and I am your resident podcast DJ, BK, helping you understand how to curate your movies, news, and media.
The Player Way.
And I never do this thing alone. As soon as I can find the drop button.
Corrupting the system.
He was already corrupting the system on that intro. You already know who it is. Derek Lewis, DTX, still corrupting that system.
Absolutely, ladies and gentlemen, giving it up to him. And of course, as always, we got producer James in the building.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, dude, you made it through episode 1 with us, man.
I made it. Hopefully, I can stick around for a couple more.
Hey, what you think? What you think, D?
Hey, man, I'm kind of all right with it. He might be able to be knighted one day.
Hey, be knighted one day. All right, well, we'll definitely give him a little one-up on that. Absolutely, man. Well, ladies and gentlemen, everyone in between, with all due respect, I am your resident podcast DJ, BK, helping you understand how to curate your movie news and media.
The Player Way.
Along with Mr. Corrupting the System, Derek Lewis. We are coming live, direct. We do this all in one take every single time you hear one of these drops. It is live and direct, and whenever you hear Derek corrupt the system,
corrupting the system.
That is live and in living color. We do this all in a single take, and all the mistakes are right here for you to hear. And speaking of all of the mistakes, how is it that Crazy Rich Asians is still number 1 in the box office right now? I don't understand this. I really don't even understand how it just keeps staying at the very top of all of it, man.
Decent dollar amounts over the weekend, too. Like, we're not talking about chump change for movies.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, 4-day weekend estimates, Crazy Rich Asians, 28 million, holding strong at number 1.
And number 1.
Definitely holding there. Absolutely, man. So that's what's going on there. Of course, The Meg, not to be confused with The Duff, a film, according to IMDb, BK was wrong last week, made in 2015. The Duff is basically a film about Meg Griffin, but Mae Whitman is who plays her in this. I never saw it, you never saw it, and that's the reason why we thought The Meg was already a movie out in theaters. But yes, the Megalodon, I really wish they had just called it the Megalodon. You're a guy who is into prehistoric beasts. What's your thought process on that?
Honestly, I probably would have appreciated it more, but of course I feel like, if they're going to hold true to the book, they have to. But honestly, Megalodon would have flown over a little better with me. But hey, man, it's a shark movie. You know what I mean? About a prehistoric shark.
We'll just call it Shark Movie.
Shark Movie. Say no more. It's not Sharknado.
Exactly. They got to stay away from that. That's probably what it was, is they got to stay far away from that. I wonder what those trademarks look like, those contracts.
Right? You can't.
Stay far away from shark.
Oh, man.
Another shark in the water we have coming up. Before I make this segue, I want to talk a little bit about, obviously, we're not really excited about any of these films that are in theaters. You listening to this, you're not excited about anything that's in theaters right now. The thing that you were looking out for and everything on social media was all about Netflix. Ozark Season 2 jumped right out there and came back. It made a big splash. No pun intended. And Derek, you got out there on Play Your Way Network
.com
and wrote an amazing article. James, can you pull that up real quick?
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes. Weekly movie chat. Ozark is back, and our movies just TV shows now. Tell us what was on your mind when you wrote this article.
Well, what was on my mind is I had a little as a premise in it. I speak to how last year when Ozark came out, you and Nate De La Vega were talking about how much you enjoyed it. You appreciated the quick-wittedness of the snake oil salesman that Marty Bird is. You even said, man, he could talk me into anything just about. And, I mentioned in the article how life happens and it fell to the dreaded continue watching list. But anyway, I recently re-binged it and leading right into this weekend and was able to get through the first episode before daddy duty. Kind of, I'm like, you know what? I want to focus my full-time energy and chi and chakra on this. So I look forward to doing that. That's after
awesome.
bedtime.
So you spent all of your weekend. So you spent all your week trying to binge watch this thing to get ready for it to come out, and your kids corrupted your system.
They did, literally. It runs in the DNA, so I had to take it. But I know you, besides being the burly man that you are, I know you were able to catch up on. What were your thoughts on this thing, man?
Absolutely. Burly man he's talking about. It was our, my wife and I, because of course I couldn't have done it alone. It was my wife and I's 9th anniversary.
Oh, man. Whoa, stop it. Let's give it an applause for 9 years. Let's do it.
Absolutely.
I wanna stay together.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Woo. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Exactly. Absolutely. That's what's up. He's so stupid. Anyway, but no, and that's actually Derek knows that's actually our song. Yes. But my wife, she reminded me that the 9th wedding anniversary, useless trivia, is the leather. Yes, the leather,
so she gonna get that belt
anniversary. So my gifts were these amazing leather cook master gloves that I could use in getting ready to, corrupt the nature system. And so went out and built some fires.
Break them in?
We went out and had an amazing camping trip. Yeah, nice. We actually did like more of a traditional camping trip, but it really got me in the mind state of being in the Ozarks. Another set of trivia there, if you already don't know about this. Ozark is actually filmed in North Georgia Mountains area near Lake Lanier. So we weren't too far from there at all. So we definitely were in the mind state of Ozark this weekend. And when we got back in town, immediately I binge watched the first 3 episodes in preparation for this podcast. So definitely want to give you some exclusives this episode.
Exclusive. The Player Way.
Exclusive.
We're absolutely going to continue to keep it the Player Way, but of course we are transformed into weekly movie chat. Transformed for your listening pleasure. And so basically what's going on down there is, since Derek didn't get a chance to get all the way through those first few episodes, I got you, homie. Throw it up, intercept it. Got you. So compared to season 1, as Derek alluded to, I kind of mentioned that he was kind of a Marty Bird is this guy who you mentioned who is kind of down on his luck. His wife is cheating on him. Spoiler alert, by the way. And he's literally about to die. And if not for his quick silver tongue, he'd be dead. And he and his wife, as you get through that first season, you see they both have talents in kind of bending the truth, changing the narrative to kind of fit the storyline that needs to be told within their lifestyle, whether it be maintaining a certain lifestyle level for them to enjoy, comfortability wise, in order to maintain relationships with their kids. And by the end of season 1, all of that completely collapses. So as we start with season 2, pretty much everybody in the area that they live kind of know their secrets if they're in on the know, and even their kids know what's going down. So they kind of start off season 2 trying to be just honest. And in my opinion, that kind of shuts down a little bit of the energy for me. I'm not saying that I won't watch the rest of the season. I will, but the thing with Marty Bird, and which makes you love him so much, is he's this guy who, just when you think he's completely defeated, you see him completely come up with a scheme to save the day. And so far,
that danger in the back of your neck, that right there, like,
and it has this character, Marty Byrde, has shades of Walter White. However, Marty Byrde has already compromised from the beginning. Like, from the get-go, you see that he's halfway into his transformation into his Heisenberg-esque. But with Jason Bateman playing him, you kind of feel for him for whatever reason. You know, Jason Bateman has that everyman dad feel to him, and that's what he brings to the table. And you can tell that they're depending on that heavily in season 2 because the writing's not there to make you completely on his side about what he's doing. He's immediately making mistakes. People that he should be listening to, he's not paying attention to. And you see that he's doing things that you wouldn't have thought he would have done in season 1. You wouldn't have thought he'd have been as sloppy as he is at the beginning of season 2. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting how it's evolving. I do like the development with all the rest of the characters. Marty Byrde's wife's character, it really reminds me, if you can pull up IMDb real quick, Darius Prather, shout out to Darius. He made an interesting post on Facebook earlier this weekend about how comparing Skylar White to Laura Linney's character and how different those two characters are, where, you know, which one do you hate more?
Which one do you hate more, though? Let's jump down that one real quick.
I feel like if Laura Linney was playing Skylar White, I would love Skylar White more. I think Wendy Byrde being played by Laura Linney is great because Laura Linney is a really strong actress. She can compete with what Jason Bateman is putting down. In my opinion, Anna Gunn playing Skylar White, I just don't think she had the acting chops to keep up. And they worked really hard on her writing later on in the seasons when you see her working with Bill Burr and trying to using Bill Burr as that inspector, and he has the little Bluetooth in his ear, and she's kind of reading things out while the baby is in the car. A lot of really good writing, really good shots that Vince Gilligan put out there for Skylar White that kind of gave you meat and potatoes for that character. But Anna Gunn didn't do a lot, in my opinion. Even when you see Anna Gunn kind of falling apart toward the end of the series, you don't really feel completely bad for her. A lot of people have theories and have written video essays on why that is. Probably because you're completely complicit in what they're doing. But I still feel like if you had Laura Linney playing Skylar White, you'd be completely in on the ground floor on saying, okay, I feel bad for her.
Gotcha. I totally agree. I mean, that was a great analyzing on actual the parts there. Now, when it comes to actual the character itself, me personally, I have much more respect for Marty Byrde's wife versus Skylar, because I at no point ever in the entire series of Breaking Bad was I just never liked her. I never liked her. I never felt that she supported Walter through his conquest, and that at least in here you see that she's like, well, Marty, we got to do this, so let's figure this out together. And it took forever for Skylar to get on board on that, and I'm just like, this man has cancer.
Here's what's crazy. Yes. Get on board. What I love is that Wendy Byrde and Skylar Wright are written so similarly to one another. Like, you see Wendy Byrde starts off at the very beginning of the series cheating on her husband and getting caught doing it, and her side piece being taken care of, for lack of a better terminology. Skylar White has a very similar situation, and her side piece ends up meeting the brunt
Mr. Mayhem
of a... Yes, exactly. So, so it's one of those things where I feel like they're the same character, and shout out to Darius. Darius definitely making analysis and comparisons.
The player way.
Because as soon as I saw that, I said, I know exactly what he means. Mm-hmm. It's hard to say which one I hate more, because I think they're the same. If anything, I think Anna Gunn's, she just was outgunned, for lack of a better term. When it comes to her acting chops, I think there's so much really good acting on Breaking Bad that she just didn't have a lot to offer. I don't know. You just hated her from the get-go.
And see,
anyway, I feel like
you're right. That's a rabbit hole. Let's jump out of this.
So anyway, let's go.
Sky,
back
hook
into
us out of this, James. Come on now.
And what I love about talking about these two shows, Breaking Bad and Ozark, is the long form storytelling. And you kind of got into talking about that back in your article, right?
Absolutely. This is something that was a very common topic throughout the Player Weight podcast when we discuss these large movie franchises and we discuss these great TV shows, when we discuss some of our favorite directors, some of our favorite actors. And a lot of these, the movie studios have taken some of that mixture in the cauldron to use it for their benefit. And then it led me right to probably our favorite movie studio right now, Marvel Studios, who in essence has had a 30 episode TV show for the past decade going strong. And that idea, it works. And it brought me to a couple other film franchises that it hasn't worked for, and a couple other ones that it might work for. And the key is, it's the consistency, it's the shared vision, it's that thing that everyone gets on a TV show because they know where they're going almost season to season to season. And especially shows like Breaking Bad or Lost, which have the ending already written. They just need to figure out how to get there. You can really tell the difference between those type of series versus ones that are like the week to week, the crime of week dramas, the ones that are like, let's just keep the show going. Let's wake up another character. Oh, he had another brother that lived in Arizona that showed up this week. What have you. And that led me to just the whole idea on how these type of film franchises really, in essence, are doing what has been working for really good TV shows for a long time. Sopranos, Breaking Bad, Sons of Anarchy, these type of shows, which, speaking of Sons of Anarchy, Mayans MC will be coming out on FX pretty soon.
Yeah, and we'll be talking about that pretty soon. But let me go back real quick. Something that you talked about, I love how you zero in on Marvel, and I love in your article, which you can see at playyourwaynetwork.com right now. It's called Film and TV Weekly Movie Chat. Ozark is back at movies, or just TV shows now.
Yeah.
Scroll back down, James.
Film, TV, Weekly Movie Chat. Ozark is back, and are movies just TV shows now?
Exactly. And so what I loved about that is that when you zero in Marvel, what these other film franchises aren't doing is they're undershooting the importance of the post-credit scene.
Absolutely.
And here's why the post-credit scene is so important. If you're going to create episodic, and James and I talked about this before the podcast, previously to Marvel, when you talked about episodic storytelling, you were talking about this episode, like Star Wars Episode 1 and then Star Wars Episode 2. So these standalone movie, storylines that didn't have to do with the one thing to the next, but was within the same quote unquote universe. Mm-hmm. But now that's kind of taken on a whole new, connotation, because episodic storytelling is now kind of like a long-form storytelling device. So for all intents and purposes, we're going to call it long-form storytelling on this podcast. So when you hear that, that's what we mean. All right, so if you're going to do a long-form storytelling, as Derek mentioned, on that crime of the week type, TV show, or if you're talking about Power Rangers with the big bad of the week, or if, which is similar to like the CW, Flash, and Supergirl shows, you still have to have some sort of storyline that continues on to the next episode and gives you a reason to want to tune back in. That's where the post-credit scene comes in. Without that post-credit scene, you don't have a reason to look forward to other things. Let's take Ant-Man, for example.
It gives it that exponent factor. Be like, exactly. Yeah, I want to see the next superhero movie, but that post-credit scene, did you see he was talking to him? That must mean, and then it creates the whole fan theory. Articles, videos, postulating everything. Go ahead, man, Ant-Man.
Yeah. So talking about Ant-Man, or if you are a person who is a lay person who's never seen Ant-Man before, you probably thought it was called Ant-Man.
Who's this? Antenna Ant-Man.
That new movie. Ant-Man
and the Wasp.
Have you seen that Ant-Man movie? Yes, I plan on going to see that Ant-Man and the Wasp this weekend. Ant-Man.
I love those Anglo-Saxons.
No, it's Ant-Man. No, I'm pretty sure, BK. I'm pretty sure it's Ant-Man. But anyway, at the end of Ant-Man, if you don't have that post-credit scene where you see the Van Dyne family disappear, you don't get the tie-in to everything.
Exactly.
And to really feel like it's a part of something. Same thing with the end of Infinity War. Without that shield disappearing at the end with that beeper, that pager, why would we even care about this upcoming Captain Marvel film?
Exactly.
So you cannot... I understand that DC and Sony, and 20th Century Fox, they don't want to do that as much. For example, if you see at the end of Daredevil 1, that he didn't have a post-credit scene. What happens is they do the Ferris Bueller thing. Mm-hmm. And he's like, did you think there was something else? Like, yeah, we need something else.
Deadpool.
Yeah, you said Deadpool. What did I say?
You said Daredevil, but we knew
Daredevil. Sorry, my bad. But you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
My bad on that one. I definitely hit the wrong one on that one. My bad. I was caught up in the Ant-Man.
Alexander Ant-Man.
Attorney at law.
Esquire.
Esquire. Exactly. But anyway, getting back to
no,
it.
you're right. I even mentioned it in the article how like even the Netflix Marvel series, even though individually there was some rise and falls, but the MCU even allowed them to make reference to that cinematic universe, if only just for a few moments throughout the season, just to let you know, yeah, these guys are kind of part of it too. I mean, that creates a gigantic tapestry of just actual media and entertainment, and it takes a lot of time, effort, and energy that they're all in unison on. That's what's incredible about it. That's the part that really brings it home, and that's where the part where franchises like Star Wars have fallen apart, because there were decades between movies, and then you had completely different visionaries, completely different directors, completely different things, and it took, and that's why some of that old school Renaissance Star Wars power did not have the same type of presence that it has recently, because we've seen this before. We saw this in the late 90s and early 2000s, obviously, with Phantom Menace.
Obviously.
And those type of those movies. And then going in now, like you said, I was extremely disappointed in The Last Jedi. Like, it was good for a Star Wars film, but if anything, that one felt like it was tearing away from the tapestry of Star Wars. And that's where these type of places are winning with the long form storytelling.
Exactly. And speaking of which, Jack Ryan is one of those series that you've had, a clear and present danger. You had, what's the movie about it had Wesley Snipes in it and the escapee or whatever it was?
The Fugitive.
The Fugitive. There you go. Yeah. So like those types of Jack Ryan storytelling did really, really great before things like the MCU came out, and since it has come out,
shout out to Kiss the
Jack
Girls
Ryan,
and Along Came a Spider. Remember those?
There you go.
Yeah,
exactly. But since in this new millennium, those things have not. Jack Ryan hasn't done so well in theaters, and so I love that they're giving Jack Ryan a shot on what series? Oh, Amazon Prime.
Yeah, Amazon Prime.
Yeah, and that came out this past weekend as well. I haven't gotten a chance to digest any of that, but I'm hearing strong comparisons of saying Jack Ryan season 1 is worth more in terms of your time and energy than Ozark season 2. So I might have to give that a shot this week and give you guys a little bit of a rundown on next week's episode of Weekly Movie Chat.
I'm down with that. I'll probably join you on that, Jack. And shout out to John Krasinski. Like we could definitely work with that. Man, he is just seeing his career. Like it's rare to see an actor or actress play a specific typecast role and actually break out of it and be successful in it so soon thereafter. You know what I mean? That's what's crazy. He's like, no, I'm not going into comedy always. I'm a filmmaker and I have a vision and here's my acting chops. Oh, all right. We see you, Krasinski. Do your thing, man.
I'm interested to see what's going on with that.
Boy, divorced Pam and started working out.
But as for Ozark season 2, we will come back and give you a bit of more of a rundown on season 2 after you've had a chance to completely digest. We don't want to hit you with the spoilers already, but we will be back next week with some exclusives for sure.
Exclusive. The Player Way.
Exclusive.
To put a button in this conversation, Derek, just give us one quick little button up of your thoughts of long-form storytelling and shows like Ozark's impact on moviegoers.
I feel that it takes us back. Actually, it's nostalgic because it gives you that moment, the ability, like right now in this day and age, we have the ability to watch the entire season of a show in a few days versus several months. That allows us a much larger dose of that particular media format. However, with movies doing the long form storytelling and forcing us to have to wait for the next one or giving that lead right into the next movie, it takes me back to being that nostalgic moment where, you know what, let me wait for the next week's newspaper to find out what's going to be on the TV this week. You know what I mean? I gotta wait. I can't just binge all of MCU at once. So I'm gonna leave you with that little tidbit. You know, that little nostalgia. Actually,
Hey, I'm gonna pick right up where you left off on that, because shout out to Hulu, man. Hulu is definitely doing episodic television.
The Player Way.
If you've not seen A Handmaid's Tale, what I love about what Hulu is doing is they are playing on that nostalgia of having to wait till next week. One of Rachel's, she loves A Handmaid's Tale. You cannot binge watch that show when it comes out. They come out every week the same day, and you got to wait until they drop that next episode. In my opinion, I really feel like Netflix and other companies can benefit from that type of storytelling.
Absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree, because it forces the conversation for longer. Okay. Right now, we live in a day and age where if you come out with something new, shiny, that's awesome. We're going to pick it up. We're just going to look at it for 6 days and dust it off and go on to the next thing that's available. This type of storytelling, it forces you to stay involved, and it's still a relevant story. It's not just like, oh, it's not the soap opera type of TV shows.
Yes.
You know, let's put them in a coma. Well, I don't know what else to do with them.
Yes, and I love that in your article you had that little page of a TV guide.
Absolutely.
Because I don't
Kids
know,
today.
I know you're not necessarily plugged into cord cutting too much, but you're ahead of the trend. You're ahead of the curve. Because what's going on here right now is people thought television was going to die. I'm going to help you guys out for a second. Cord cutting movements in television have changed that complete game up. Back when it was just Sling TV, I get you. But now that Google Fiber is coming out, they are selling packages with Google Fiber. Everybody wants that fast fiber internet. They're selling packages giving you access to YouTube cable. With that, YouTube cable is also out there. You now have Dish Network has options in terms of cord cutting television packages. And again, my personal favorite right now, you guys know I was a big proponent of Sling TV last season of the Playaway podcast. This season, I'm all about DirecTV Now. That is the exclusive right now.
The Player Way.
Exclusive.
This is unsolicited advice. Take it if you want to. If you want to save all of them ducats and them coins.
Where to go, that
But
back?
Exactly. Where to go, that back? Gonna say that, man. Exactly. So what's going on, man, is for $40, you can get pretty much all of your local channels, all of your local network channels, and you can get all of your cable for $40 done. And then for a cheaper price than you can get anywhere right now, you can add on HBO as need be. In fact, James and I are right now, we're sharing an account right now, splitting it right down the middle. Yep. You know, and in that way, you can get television anytime you want to right on your set-top box television. But why is this relevant to our conversation, you might ask? Here's why, okay? Stay with me, and I will bless you, okay? Here's what's going down. You're talking about long-form storytelling, and you're saying, okay, I love that Netflix is dropping all of the episodes at once. But what's happening is, like what Derek said, is he starts watching the show, and then it goes into that abyss. He gets to an episode, he doesn't like that too much, he gets distracted, and then he kind of falls behind. But if he was only getting one episode per week, he'd be looking for that thing.
Exactly.
And with stuff like MTV's The Challenge, Teen Mom, these are things that women over 40 are loving, over 30 and over 40 are loving to watch. And these are episodic shows that you can only get on your DVR every week. So you got to wait till that next show comes out. So that style of television watching and wanting to see that show, instantly, like Netflix has been answering with Orange is the New Black and other shows like that, that's going to go away, I believe. That is my prediction. That is my conspiracy theory.
Conspiracy.
Well,
But what if it's a conspiracy?
Women love shows that remind them that their eggs aren't trying out.
Yes, that drop is back for another season, y'all. Yeah. That's what's up. But my thought process there is that I believe that television is eventually going to win. that cable way of with the TV guide and everything, with keeping your DVR storage fresh, that is going to end up winning out. And things like The Handmaid's Tale are giving you a peek into the future where that show you love to watch that you want to get a whole season of, you're not going to be able to get it like that. And I love that they're making us wait. The old man in me, the old man is wanting the young whippersnapper in me to understand. Exactly. Right. Hey, you got to wait. You got to wait for that next episode. Back in my day, you had to wait 2 freaking weeks to wait.
Well, even Netflix is doing some shows that way, like some of their more topical
Yeah,
shows.
a lot of the
Really?
they have a few go ahead, James.
Yeah, I was just saying they have a few shows like they're doing like a talk soup type show with Kevin McHale. That's
I did know about that one.
that
Okay,
was
yeah.
every week.
So more of your stuff
Explained.
that is more
Explain's one of the cool
headline
ones.
driven.
Like, yeah, topical.
Yeah, and I do
Explained
know about
is a good
and
one.
my-
It's it's another one on Netflix. Like they release it every Wednesday.
And
And
the
I'm
David Letterman
Gentlemen,
show.
yeah,
Yep.
The David
you stole
Letterman
my
show.
one. That was my one. That was my one to get back in.
one.
Yeah, and my next guest is that's he does that one periodically. Dave Chappelle did it as well as he for when his stuff was coming out. But I mean, in terms of all of their stuff, I think that's going to be something that is more driven. That I think they're going to have to push more toward that. Where the problem comes in with Netflix, they got a lot more intellectual property going on than Hulu does.
Right.
And so I think where you're going to have the issue is competing for the days, like who gets what day and all of that. And so they got to juggle a little bit of that. But
And The Handmaid's Tale is like Hulu's first
it really is. It's
real
their
hit.
first meat and
Like,
potatoes.
It's the first
real
hit
hit,
because
'cause they
they've
have-
tried some
Yeah.
other shows, but this is the one. This is the one that people are like, yeah.
This is the one that's
Yeah, like Evil Eye is a good one, but
The
it didn't
Path,
catch on.
it
Yeah,
didn't-
the
The
path.
Path didn't
I
catch
didn't really
on.
like the path, and I feel bad for Jesse Pinkman. Or is that who's in that show?
he's got the
Yeah, he's the main character in that. Yeah, like I feel bad for him because he's had that show didn't do so well for him, and then he also had Need for Speed, which didn't go so well.
No.
Little known fact: I said this on Playway podcast last season, but James, you weren't here, so I'll repeat it for you. Have you ever watched the Need for Speed?
No.
What I want you to do is while we're continuing our conversation, I want you to go to Google, type opening scene Need for Speed.
Aaron,
And if you just laugh in the middle of our conversation,
We'll know why.
Just let yourself laugh. We'll know why.
exactly
and we'll come back to that. While he's pulling that up, Derek, let's talk a little bit about what's coming up in theaters. Let's get a little bit of
absolutely picking up.
I don't want to. Go ahead.
Picking up right where we left off last week, we're getting our first true dose of horror with the season with The Nun, as we talked about last week. That's definitely coming out this week, and that's a must watch for me personally. I gotta know that one, especially with the going along with continuing our topic of long form storytelling. The Nun is another movie in the line of the Conjuring films, the Annabelle. So they're doing the exact thing, but this is actually based on true stories, so they even have more to go with it. So that's coming out this weekend.
And where we used to call that like trilogy or quadrilogy, nowadays theaters have called that the universe tactic.
Mm-hmm. The universe tactic.
Go back, James. Go back to the opening scene. I want you to pay attention because I don't think you really paid attention.
It's happening.
Go all the way back. All the way back to the beginning. All the way back to the beginning. That's supposed to be New York.
Yeah.
It's Columbus, Georgia. It's Columbus, Georgia. It's supposed to be in New York. Like, what? No way.
Mount Kisco, New York.
Exactly. No. Shout out to all my Columbus, Georgia friends. If you go back to Need for Speed opening scene, no one watched that movie, but if you go back and watch it, you'll get a nice little surprise of nostalgia. Columbus, what progress has preserved.
Hey man, every movie this day are filmed in two areas. It's either in Atlanta or Georgia, or it's in Chicago. That's it, man. Every movie has.
Yeah, Chicago. That's pretty much it. You're
man.
right about that. But anyway, getting back to, and Pittsburgh is sometimes every now and again. Although Pittsburgh was kind of killed by Nolan when he did the Batman trilogy there. So
Absolutely.
the new Batman Dark Knight trilogy.
Louisiana's
But anyway,
also big too.
exactly. So but the universe tactic, as we were talking about with long storm storytelling, we're jumping all over the place. Definitely getting some of Derek's moniker in there.
Corrupting the system.
Ooh, piece of
So
candy.
this might be a topic for another time, but what do y'all think that the firing of James Gunn is going to do to the continuity of the long form of the
With the
Marvel
fact that it's on hold indefinitely for Guardians #3?
Yes.
Hey, I got time today.
Yes.
I got time today. We can talk a little bit about that.
Let's jump in there.
I'm not going to talk about what I politically believe about that.
Yeah.
We're going to find out. We're going to find out what James Gunn brought to the table. That's all I can say. I do believe that Marvel in particular brings a heavy-handed interpretation by the directors. If you watch the original Thor, Kenneth Branagh, if you know anything about Kenneth Branagh, then you know that movie was 100% directed and partly written by him. If you go and watch the new Thor, Ragnarok, that director, if you watch any of the behind-the-scenes stuff with that director, you know that they just kind of made stuff as they went along with that director. Same thing with the original Iron Man, what was going on with that. A lot of stuff going on with that director as well. So we're going to see what James Gunn brought to the table there. It remains to be seen if it was a great decision or not.
Yeah. There's talks that, or rumors, I should say, that
DC
Taika Waititi might direct.
Yeah, the Thor Ragnarok. I think Taika Waititi would be a better choice for the Third Galaxy, because Guardians 2, to quote Nate De La Vega, I mean, it was kind of like the same thing over and over again. I didn't really feel the original Guardians of the Galaxy was groundbreaking.
Right.
I didn't feel that way with Guardians 2.
Very similar how you spoke about Deadpool. Very similar.
Yes, definitely. Deadpool 2, same thing.
And the thing is, Deadpool and Guardians shouldn't be, like, I can understand Deadpool because Deadpool is Fox, it's racy, it should be rinse, repeat, more of the same. Guardians of the Galaxy, especially with the cog that it represents, I don't think, and
I think Taika Waititi with Thor Ragnarok was more Guardians 2 than Guardians 2 was.
It really felt like it, right?
Yeah. I mean, that was my biggest criticism. I didn't feel Thor Ragnarok was
That's why I made it on my
story as it needed to be.
That's why it was on my one of my worst films of 2017, because Ragnarok denotes the last days of Norse mythology, when the wolves meet the sun and the moon. Odin and Thor, they battle the world serpent, and it's a bad news. It's where it all goes down. And we're over here. We got a South African
cat slaying down with dogs.
We're over here. It looks like the foundation's not going to be there for much longer. I'm sorry for all of your losses, but
to Hugh Jackman.
I can't. I know how to fix this.
Shout out to Nate. We miss you, buddy.
I know how to fix this real quick.
So basically, you're saying it remains to be seen how this is going to affect.
Yeah,
everything?
I really do. I wish I could say we're going to miss him a whole lot more. My biggest thing is I hope that nobody jumps out the window with their career trying to
Bautista.
quit.
Yeah, right.
Dave Bautista, stay right where you at.
Hey.
Don't be trying to make no point with your career. You need these ducats.
I don't think he is. I heard an interview of him saying he's scared because he doesn't.
That's
know,
what I'm saying.
He doesn't know what's gonna happen.
Exactly. Yeah. I can see Zoe Saldana trying to take a stand.
And I know,
but here's the other problem. Here's the other problem, though. Right now's the wrong time for them to try to jump out the window.
what else are you gonna do?
Because they're dead anyway. They've already kind of wrapped their whole story up already. So if they don't come back, we got our money already. I mean, I know Sly Stallone is ready for them to tell that Guardians of the Galaxy story.
Go ahead and do it.
Hey, I need it right now.
Well, I'm working on
Rocky
Expendables
is
8.
gonna do it.
Like, I know that you said you're not going to get too political, and neither am I, even though I do have the desire to hashtag corrupt the system on that. But I'm just going to say,
corrupting the system.
there are witch hunts out there. His Twitter existed before Guardians 1 and before Guardians 2, and somehow before Guardians 3, that's when we decided to delve in. And I can understand how people would be offended at the tweets. However, I also know time, tone, and energy also make and break a joke. And if y'all are perfectly fine with this man handling 2 other films and definitely going to do a third, why are you going to dig up stuff over 10 years ago that definitely completely out of context or were probably just said just for likes and shares, go on about his day? I'm not with that aspect of it. I'm not taking a stand on the subject matter because I have a very dark sense of humor personally. I have no room to talk. I've made some great dark jokes in my life and shut the whole room down. So the fact that Disney took a stand on this, it's picking and choosing. And let's not forget Disney's past, okay? Brer Rabbit, let's not forget it, okay? I'm just going to go ahead and say that.
I mean,
what are the jokes about Walt Disney? What are the jokes about Walt Disney?
Exactly.
Put them in the oven.
Absolutely.
Corrupting the system.
But if I may be so bold, yes. I mean, I have my own conspiracy theory as to what might have happened.
Conspiracy. But what if?
I know we've already done this on this episode.
What if it's a conspiracy?
Get us 2 handfuls.
Hey, give them 2 servings.
Hey.
My conspiracy theory as to what might have happened with this thing is I'm thinking that what's going on with James Gunn here, it's eerily reminiscent of what happened with Zack Snyder and his family issues that conveniently became super important around the time that a certain film was about to be released, and therefore they released him to have time with his family. Maybe James Gunn asked for too much money when it came time to re-up on that contract.
You think that? I thought he was already.
Thinking that might be.
I thought he was already contracted through 3 films. Though,
you know, when the contract renegotiation come up, you asking for too much money, and Marvel's already doing all right, and they kind of want to get this other Waititi guy in anyway, and you asking for a lot of money, you trying to play hardball with your contract. You know, tweets just start. Old tweets just mysteriously come missing and
be
popping
found
up at one time.
You think Disney be that cold? Like,
hey, bro. Hey, listen. Hey,
man.
Hey, bro, I want to get. Look, I was gonna hire you for the movie, but they found these tweets, bro. You know what I'm saying? You might want to check your Twitter, bro.
James,
they found these tweets. That's word on the street.
Any company that has that many commas accessible, they are capable of anything. They make anybody disappear,
yes,
you know, including careers,
bro. Look,
bread, money, and butter. No,
but what if?
And I just want to go on the record to say, when I mentioned Brer Rabbit, Disney, that was a very advantageous and great film at the time, and we appreciate your efforts for it, Disney. I don't need them texts from "Stay right there." Stay right there.
Stupid. Just when you think our podcast is important, I'm your resident podcast. Welcome to Verizon Wireless Airspace.
Welcome to Disney streaming service. Here's all our shit.
Exactly. It's over.
Right
Here's all
over.
our shit. Welcome to the vault.
The crows from Dumbo.
Yeah.
Exactly, man. It's over.
Say, Dumbo, you ain't need no magic feather. Say, man, you always can fly. You feel me? Slap me.
I'm telling you.
Hit me, Satchmo.
Well, speaking of birds of a feather flocking together, we got to get out of here pretty soon. But before we go, we started a little bit. We jumped all over the place. We were talking about The Nun for a second, and then we got into laughing about Need for Speed. We don't want to go back into The Nun too much because we hit that really hard.
Absolutely.
The one that we do want to talk about that is going head-to-head with The Nun this upcoming weekend is Peppermint, starring Jennifer Garner. This film is, like I said, it's kind of like a Taken, Equalizer, The Foreigner. And then more recently, you got stuff like
Tomb Raider, Atomic
Blonde. And, you know, it's interesting. You know, Atomic Blonde didn't do so well in theaters. If you want to bring up Rotten Tomatoes real quick, James, the consensus is that it was really well liked by the reviewers, by critics, but it was kind of like, it was all right to the audience score. It came in at a 64%, which is better than others, but that's just enough for it to not be a squash, you know. It did okay in theaters. I didn't hear much hullabaloo about it. What about you when it comes to Atomic Blonde? Derek?
It was about the same. I mean, it was one of those. The trailer said just about everything, and you know, I've seen this before. I saw Charlize Theron, whatever. she did this in Eon Flux. You know what I mean? Which, you know, and
Ghost in the Shell is a similar
Ghost in the
one with
Shell,
Scarlett Johansson.
Resident Evil. We've seen that formula before. Kate Beckinsale killed it, you know, in Underwear. Like they buried that whole franchise. Finally, they should have at least quite about 2-3 movies ago. But we've seen that, and it's shown us that particular film by itself doesn't usually bode well. It requires something else to go with it, either a team. The throwback to Charlie's Angels, even though it was a remake, it wasn't too bad. It did okay cinematically, but we're not looking for the lone loba on here these days. Lately, I've noticed. Yeah. But it'd be cool to see Elektra again, I guess. I mean, even though they're calling it Peppermint.
It's interesting that Jennifer Garner is the person starring in this. It's been a minute since there was a Jennifer Garner-driven film that did amazing, as far as I can tell. I don't know. They got some decent supporting cast there. They got Method Man in there. They got John Ortiz, which
what
he's that Hispanic guy that you see.
Y'all, he said that with the straight face. He said that with the straight face. They got some good supporting actors in there. They got Method Man. He said it with the straight face, y'all. I just know that y'all couldn't see that.
That was a comma. They have some great supporting actors, comma. They also have Method Man if you like grape drink. You know, it's one of those, so like, I mean, they got some things in there to go. I don't know. I'm my money's going to The Nun. That's what I'm gonna say. What about you, D?
Yes, The Nun. The Nun. I have no desire to see Peppermint.
Derek, what you thinking?
Me? Yeah. I would say The Nun, only because mainly because it's leading up to Halloween. Yeah. People like scary movies.
It's about that time.
It's a new scary movie.
It's time for pumpkin spice.
Do pretty well.
Hey, my resident white girl had her first pumpkin spice milkshake tonight. So it's about that time.
Pumpkin spice is on the internet right now.
Exactly.
Facebook, so
she was wearing leggings, talking about all her favorite fall things. So, it's about that time, to get that going. My thing with Peppermint, and I can't take credit for this joke premise. Bill Burr, the legend, he's the new school George Carlin. My thing with him is he has this joke that he talks about in his podcast about how I would be cool with women doing well in time, like, and he was talking specifically about Atomic Blonde. These movies, they're going up against a 300-pound dude in these fight scenes. And this lady who probably doesn't weigh more than 120 pounds punches him, and it actually hurts. In real life, my wife tries to do anything, and it's a wrap. All I have to do is lay down on her right side of her body, and she will be numb all day tomorrow. We have a no-play fighting rule in our house because of it. No pillow fighting, nothing. Because I don't want – the last thing we need is her African-American husband giving her bruises on her arm and wondering what the hell is going on. I don't want that in my life. I don't need
no
that.
$200, no nothing. You straight gone.
Exactly. Sir, we have an understanding that you are hoarding white women in your house. What is going on?
Where the white women at?
No, exactly. No more podcasts right after that. Welcome to Disney, the Vault. But anyway, my thing, I love his joke about that because it's true. Like, if in order for me to get on board with Peppermint, this idea of this, it's like the Punisher for women. These men killed my family, and now I'm coming after you. When I find you, I'm going to kill you. I'm cool with it as long as you do some stuff like in The Equalizer, like in The Equalizer with Denzel Washington. What I love about that character is just like they call him the Equalizer. In those final scenes, he finds a way to go against people that are 20, 30 years his junior. He will drive clear across the country to hurricane-infested weather just so the snipers won't have an edge on him. He will go to a Lowe's in the middle of the night and turn on all of the sprinklers just so you will get electrocuted when he throws things on the floor. So in order for Peppermint to do well for me as a movie, I need for them to acknowledge that there is a physiological barrier between this woman who, before her kids got killed, she was just a regular mild mannered woman, and in the span of like 3 or 4 years, she becomes the Punisher. I need to see how that happens. I need to be able to buy into that.
The trailer,
Lara Croft, in my opinion, did a great job with that. You saw that she had MMA experience, she was training. It was still a little fantastical and it was video game-ish, but it was okay because it was based on a video game.
I know with this one,
But
they
in
do
order
have
for
her
me to
training
buy
like
into
with
this-
firearms, and I feel like that's going to be her equalizer. Like she's going to be apparently, I guess,
Yeah.
an ace shooter, which would make sense.
Yeah.
However, that in essence creates a crutch in all movies thereafter and before, because it's always going to be that. And this isn't being like anti-feminist or anything. This is just basic science. Like 100, like you just said, the Bill Burr joke is accurate. They even make fun of it in male action movies when the short guy goes up against the big guy. Okay, well, he just threw him across the room. Exactly, because that's real life. That's what happens.
Yes.
They had a gunfight after that. It was over. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, absolutely,
it's interesting.
Absolutely.
It'll be one of those movies. You know, it'll go in the pile.
Absolutely. So we'll see.
We'll see it in the $5 bin. Movie trading company.
I mean, and that's and that's more so because it's what Jennifer Garner movie and a bunch of B-list people. And
Hold on, say that one more time. It's a who movie?
it's a Jennifer Garner movie and a bunch of B-list people that nobody knows really. Oh, he was in that movie, right? I don't remember.
I'm telling you.
Jennifer Garner starring the coffee guy that she gets
It's
her
a wrap
coffee
for you.
from.
It's a wrap for you after that.
Yeah, right. Sorry, the coffee guy.
And for you black people, the METHOD man. And Redman is here for the ride as well.
So
Wacky guys.
Ice-T played a cop. Method Man could play a
Exactly.
Icicle
Word is
Cubius.
bond,
cop.
son.
Rappers play cops.
Word is bond, son. My name is Narcotics Director Barker. Word is bond, son.
All right, speaking
anyway,
of that, I just have a short little rabbit hole. I found
Okay,
something
go ahead,
on
go ahead.
Netflix.
We gotta wrap it up.
It's called Liquid Science, but it has the Jizza as the journalist, so he's going around talking to like astrobiologists.
Wait a minute.
So, real talk,
minute.
you're telling me this right here, this is going from here to here without anything else up in here? And it's really, and he's the one narrating the show even. He's narrating the
Wait a minute.
Go ahead, Jay.
You said Liquid Science.
Liquid Science.
And his name is
The Jizza.
Yeah.
Jizza.
The jizzle, the jizzle, the
got you
rizzle,
on
and the
that
double
one,
dizzle.
I got you on that
But
one.
yeah,
Liquid starring the Jizza. I love
it
it.
had me giggling.
I got you
Oh
on that.
man,
Liquid Science.
I like that.
Did it tickle you funny, Mom?
That's right. Genealogy, dato, decoration.
Exactly. There you go. Pearl necklace. Tattoo.
She wore a pearl necklace. Shout out to ZZ Top.
All right, hey, this is supposed to be a family show, man.
Hey, my
Don't
bad.
start,
All right,
man.
cool.
We're gonna end up. Listen, we're gonna end up.
I'm bringing that back.
Okay, we got to calm down for a second. You know what I'm saying? All right, and we're back from a technical difficulty. we kind of went too far, but we're about to wrap it up. Is there anything else for the good of the order, Derek?
On my end, the only thing I have is just I have a friendly reminder to stay weird out there, folks, because after all, you know that we're just agents. So if you don't like what me and BK are broadcasting, I strongly encourage you to, and mostly I applaud you for, corrupting the system.
Corrupting the system.
That's right, Derek. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, everyone in between, no matter what path you decide to take or what actions you decide to follow, just make sure you're doing it
The Player Way.
We'll definitely holler at you next week.
This has been the weekly Movie Chat Podcast, hosted by BK Jackson and Derek Lewis. Studio engineer and producer, James Turner. Contributing writers, Ian Robert Parsons, Darius Prather, Johnny Robinson, and Jonathan Barron. And I'm Darren Marlar, showing you how to do voiceovers the Player Way. Get this and more lifestyle news at PlayLifeYourWay.com.